Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Vigilante, holding a delicious game show mic here, folks. Had some problems with my lavalier, so we're going fist around a nice mic. Great way to support the show is to go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood. You get bonus content for as little as $2 a month. And at the $5 submit a topic tier, you can do what Eric Husseau did. Eric, thank you so much for supporting the show, for letting us know about this. So during all this, the pandemic, the quarantine, economy's been completely shut down. We give $4.25 trillion in the CARES Act. We have Americans going out of work, small businesses going under. People can't pay their bills. And what does the American politician in both parties do, in Congress and the Senate do? U.S. Senate quietly approves $38 billion for Israel amid historic economic downturn. S3176 was passed without being named, debated, or even discussed, even though it would set into law the largest aid package in U.S. history. So, I mean, on the one hand, it's shocking, but on the other hand, is it? We're in the middle of a global pandemic. We're still bombing 7 countries. We're sanctioning. We couldn't even lift the sanctions over Iran and Venezuela. And we helped contribute to them having COVID deaths. And this country's so stupid now. We have 120-some thousand COVID deaths. Globally, 424,000 deaths worldwide. So we have 25% roughly of all COVID deaths around the planet. You could make a case maybe some countries aren't reporting fairly, China, whatever, but come on. There's 7.5 billion people on this planet. 25% of the population would be, what is that? Almost a billion some people? 1.5 billion people, if I'm doing that correctly. 750 million is 1.5 billion plus 5%. We're talking about almost 2 billion people. So if we had 2 billion people living in the United States and we had 25% of the deaths, it would be on par. But we only have 330 million people in this country. That's not even 5% of the world's population. We have less than 5% of the world's population, and yet we have 25% of the COVID deaths. And are we paying people's rent? Did we tell people, look, you don't have to pay rent for 3-4 months, even if they just said 3 months, right? April, May, June. We're going to open up the country in July. Okay. Nope. But we're giving $38 billion to Israel. Senate Foreign Relations Committee quietly passed a bill yesterday to give Israel a minimum of $38 billion over the next 10 years. What's even more alarming is how the bill was passed. So it's bad enough we're getting $38 billion to a foreign country rather than to the American citizens who could use it. And by the way, being critical of this, the whole, you can't criticize Israel, it automatically makes you anti-Semitic. I'm so tired of that. I'm so tired of that. I can be critical of any right-wing government. Netanyahu's right-wing government, America's right-wing government, Brazil, anybody. I can be critical of anybody. I'm critical of their government. And then why are we funding them? The bill was passed by the committee under 2 unusual circumstances and with almost no public awareness. Oh, that's weird. See, in a representative democracy that America claims to be, we have transparency. That's why all bills are, we should, the American people should be allowed to discuss them. We should have a national vote on this. Here's what should happen. A bill like this should get introduced, and then the American people, through a secure website, can vote and debate on this. We hear we hear 3 people for it, 3 people against it, whatever, 5 and 5. And then we vote. The American people decide if we get this money. And what do you think the vote would have been? Why do you think they deliberately hid this? Because American people would have gone, what? This passed in May. I hadn't gotten I got my unemployment June 5th. I have friends of mine that still haven't gotten it. I'd be like, no. Senate Committee Chairman Jim Risch of Idaho refused to allow a live stream of the meeting. Just if in case you're thinking that these two parties are so drastically different, this was bipartisan, kids. Bipartisan. Oh, yes, Trump's awful. I don't like Trump. I don't want him in the White House, but this Democratic Party is somehow better. This is what a Biden presidency will do, by the way. This is what a Mike Pence presidency would do. This is what a Kamala Harris presidency would do. This is the bombing and the aid to Israel and not taking care of our own citizens. That'll keep happening. Wouldn't allow a live stream, despite the fact that the Senate Rules panel had recommended that extra efforts be taken to ensure public transparency, because this is right in the middle of the shutdown, which we're still sort of in. So they had to do it, vote remotely or keep it right. So that was their excuse, but you could have live video. And how had they live streamed it? Every American was home, couldn't work, couldn't do anything. Maybe more Americans would have started to pay attention to their government and see what shit's really passed. Gee, I wonder if that's why we didn't do it. Because they need us distracted. They need us working 2-3 jobs. They need us stressed out how we're going to pay our rent. Look what happened when everyone's at home with nothing to do. And then, George Floyd gets murdered by the Minneapolis Police Department. You have a week of nonstop protests. That turned into 2 weeks. That's turned into 3 weeks. That's turned into city councils defunding the police department. So they don't want everybody at home with nothing to do. The bill was passed without being named, debated, or even discussed. So we don't have a democracy anymore, folks. This is just what authoritarian dictators do, right? We look at China, they're authoritarian. Look at Putin. Putin just said, I guess he put some provision in the Constitution in Russia or something saying I can be president for the next 16 years. Frank, that's crazy, right? We just spend money on anybody doesn't have any unemployment. Anybody get turned down for an SBA loan? Anybody a frontline medical worker? There's not enough money for masks and PPE and all that stuff. But we got, Cuomo, for the last 10 years, has been shutting down hospitals in the state of New York. There were 20,000 less hospital beds when the pandemic hit New York. That cost-cutting move over the last 10 years, Cuomo, who everybody on the liberals think he's so great. No, there's more dead people in New York because of that move. Why don't we have $38 billion for more hospital beds? Why don't we have this $38 billion to go towards the Medicare for all is only $80 billion. We always have money for war. We always have money to give to Israel and other countries like that support our war. We can sell weapons to Saudi Arabia and let them bomb the shit out of Yemen, the poorest country in the history of the world, with our weapons, but we don't have money for free healthcare. We don't have money for student debt forgiveness. We don't have money for free college. We don't have money for these things. I'm just so, but we got money for this. So again, I just want to drive this home. $38 billion, while over 30 million Americans have lost jobs. And this article is in May. So this number is probably more in 40 or 50 million range, at least 40. 100,000 small businesses have already closed forever, and over 7 million are at risk of doing so. I can attest to this. There's 2 comedy clubs, Ron Placone and I. We had a progressive comedy tour, a venue in Seattle and the venue in Boston, out of business. That's just my personal, this is how this affects all of us. And so that's 2 comedy clubs I can't perform at. So that's all the wait staff, the bartenders at those 2 clubs that are gone, all the performers, comedians, bands, the Seattle venue did bands and everything else. So there's a venue we just lost. The beer distributors, the food distributors that would sell so that's just, I'm giving you 2 of my personal examples of this 100,000. And 7 million are at risk of doing so. Hey everybody, like, share, and subscribe. hit the bell notification button and the subscribe button, even if you've done it before, because they're unsubscribing, many of you, every day. Watch the ads all the way through. If you click skip ad, I don't get paid. Also, support us at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. Rockfin.com is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. All my videos are on Rockfin ad-free. Thanks for watching.